cupcakes, wedding and birthday cakes, muffins, pies, Danish.
So from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong for the last generation,
I'm
you have a choice.
the Republican
I
candidate
did
for
not
governor.
have sexual relations with
And I
that woman.
realized that this is something
Miss
he is
Lewinsky.
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
Hey, good morning, Cleveland. Welcome to Backfire this week. We've got a big lineup here in the studio this morning with John Stanberry, our regular, and Franklin Chansey. But we've got Jeff Yarber and Jack Burke in the studio this morning. We're going to try to have a little quick debate here this morning and let these guys talk about their race. You guys are running for what race is it?
5th District County Commission.
5th District. All right, I'll give you both a chance to talk. Anyway, Jack, I'll go ahead and open up with you and let you have a couple of minutes just to tell who you are, where you're from, and whatever you want to say. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that.
All right. Well, I appreciate, first of all, the opportunity to be here, and Jeff for being here as well. My name is Jack Burke. I am your candidate for 5th District County Commissioner here in Bradley County. Lifelong resident of Bradley County for the past 34 years. I've lived in and around the 5th District the entire time. I'm a graduate of Bradley Central High School, graduated there with honors. From there, I attended Cleveland State Community College and Middle Tennessee State University. I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration, minors in psychology and sociology. Worked 8 years for the Bradley County Sheriff's Department. Under Sheriff Tim Gobble, I served as the accreditation manager for the jail. I also served as the interim director for the SBCA at its inception, and I currently serve on the board of directors as their treasurer currently.
All right. Welcome to the studio this morning. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Now, Jeff Yarber, we'll let you tell a little bit about yourself and where you're going here.
Name's Jeff Yarber. I am your 5th District County Commissioner. I've been your commissioner for 12 years. Lifelong resident of Bradley County, lifelong resident minus about a year of the 5th District, born and raised on the south side of town. Old boys club boy, community service swimmer, community center swimmer. I've got 2 beautiful daughters, ages 15 and 9, that are my first and foremost priority. I've got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice as well. About completed my master's in public administration. Should be completing that in June of 2015. Have, while serving on the county commission, 7 years of that's been vice chairman. I've served as chairman of education, chairman of law enforcement, chairman of juvenile. Have served on the finance committee in the 5th District. Randy King and I formulated the Citizens Action Group over in the Blythe Avenue area, where we implemented the Yard of the Month, where each month we go around and find the best yard in that area. They'd have a sign. Beatty Hardware, Beatty Feed and Seed would give them a $25 donation. At the time, Texaco Tom, now Fuel Mart Tom, would give a $25 gift card for gas over there. Continue, have worked for the district, will continue. I've said before and say again, my motto is the 5th District is me and I'm the 5th District. So that's who I am.
All right. Well, welcome both of you to the studio this morning. Now then, Franklin, John, I'm going to let each of you ask a question, and then we'll give each candidate a little time to respond, to probably a couple of minutes to respond to it. Go ahead, Franklin, you're first.
All right. Well, over the last couple of years, I think most people in the community have been concerned about the way in which the county commission and the city council interact with each other. I'd like to hear what each candidate has to say in terms of how they see the role of those two bodies working together and what can be done to create more cooperation between the parties.
Jeff, I'm going to let you go first on this one since Jack went first on the opening.
Okay, that's fine. Franklin, excellent question. As some may or may not realize, as a county commissioner, you're entail part of the city. Most of the commission districts have part of the city. 80% of my district is city. And in my district, in order to get anything done, you have to have a very cooperative spirit with the city council. I have worked diligently with Richard Banks, George Poe, Dale Hughes, Avery Johnson, Bill Estes, Charlie McKenzie, all the current council members, former council members, Bambi Hines, have had a cooperative spirit. If you remember, I was really an advocate for consolidation of the fire departments. I was an opponent of going on our own with an animal shelter. I don't believe in duplicating services. I don't believe that that you need to do that. I believe that just makes bigger government. So I wasn't in support of that. But I believe one thing we can do is we used to have quarterly meetings with the city council, and we sit down and discuss issues, and actually not just go in and hug and kiss and kumbaya, but discuss and talk about the true issues that are going on. If there's problems between the city and the county, then you need to talk about them and work together. But we're elected not to do our own personal what we want to do personally and what we think personally. We're elected to represent our district and our community, and when 80% of your district's city, you've got to get along with your city council members.
Okay. Jack Burke?
Yeah. A lot of what Jeff said is correct. A great deal of our district falls within the city limits, so we do have to find a common ground that we can work upon with the city councils and things like that. The fact that the two entities in government can't get along is why people have lost faith in the ability of government to function to begin with. We have to be able to put our egos aside and politics aside so that we can find those common grounds in which we can work together. We do have to come to a sit down and get these issues worked out if we're going to move forward in Bradley County as we grow and to prosper. If we don't, we're going to strangle this community of services and an efficient form of government.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe Washington is why people have lost faith in government. Local government is your final stand. Local government is the last ditch faith people have in government, and so that's the city and the county working together and coming together on the issues is the big thing, because they're tired of such a split in Washington and not getting anything done. Locally is where they feel like things need to go.
All right, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, Washington is a place where prime example of entities of government not getting along. But if we can't take care of government in our own backyard, then how can we have faith in government in Washington? If we're at odds with the city council over liquor taxes and the distributions of that for the schools and things like that. If we can't keep our own house clean here locally, and people don't have faith in their local government, it's hard for that to transcend to the national or state level. So it's important that we do things here in the community that are, conducive to an efficient form of government for taxpayers and citizens.
All right, thank you. John Stanberry, I'll let you ask the next question.
Well, since we're talking about efficiency in government, we've talked about this before. I'd ask each of them how they feel about zero-based budgeting, actually looking at a budget and saying we did that last year, but maybe it doesn't work this year. Jack, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Zero-based budgeting is it's not a new concept. On the surface, it sounds great, it's an efficient way of looking at our resources and things. It was actually the state of Georgia implemented it in the 1970s under Democrat Governor Jimmy Carter at the time, and then he took it to the national level as he was elected president. What they did find was that zero-based budgeting is a very time-consuming effort. Paperwork increased and things like that, but we have to most agencies in government found that it was so difficult that they had to hire outside private agencies to even handle it. Just most recently, the state of Oklahoma implemented zero-based budgeting in their state. What they found was also that the difficulty of implementing such a technique, that they rotate departments in and out of the zero-based budgeting process every 8 years. So two departments may be in the zero-based budgeting for the 8 years, that they would come out, two more would go in and be required to do zero-based budgeting. I'm open to looking at the idea of zero-based budgeting if that is going to be an efficient, cost-effective way to save taxpayers money. Otherwise, if everybody's not on board with doing it properly, since it does require a lot of time from these departments, then it would just be a mere assemblage of budgeting and not an actual technique. So I'm not completely opposed if it is going to be an efficient way.
All right. Jeff Yarber?
Zero-based budgeting is a good idea. I'm not concerned about what's going on in Montana or what happened in Georgia in the 70s. I'm more concerned about what's going on in Bradley County today. And as we talk about tightening the budget, Bradley County, as 12 years on the commission, there's not been a tax increase, a theoretical tax increase. And I've not voted for any tax increase, even when it's under the guise of restructuring the tax rate to bring in where the property levels have gone down. But as far as zero-based budgeting goes, you have to have everybody on board. The elected officials who hold office have to be on board. If they're on board, then it's going to take out a big chunk of it. It is a time-consuming position, but in county government, as a elected official, we work for the taxpayers. So no matter how much time it takes, you don't get paid. You're not here to make money. So however much time it takes, you do what's best for the county, for the county and the taxpayers. Now, if you keep in mind, I'll go back to something I proposed during redistricting, and that was to do away with 5 commission seats. If you remember, I went to go to 9. In saving money for the taxpayers. Going to 9 districts with 9 seats, and that would say, you do away with 5 positions, which would streamline the county commission more so, in my opinion, and would have saved around $100,000.
Okay. Excuse me. Go ahead, Franklin. I'll
we
let you ask a
were
question.
talking a moment ago about the relationship between the county commission and the city council. A lot of people wonder about the relationship between the county commission and the county school board. Sometimes that has appeared to be adversarial. What can be done to improve the way those two bodies work together?
Jeff Yarber, I'll let you go first.
Franklin, if you want to talk about adversarial between the county commission and the school board, it's like a playground today compared to what it was when I first came on the commission, when Steve Bivens and my good friend Cheryl Graham and Walter Presswood and Sandy Wallace were on there with Bob Taylor as director. That was when it was truly a confrontational mentality. The school board and the county commission get along well right now. The school board and county commission probably get along as well as the county commission and the county commission get along right now. But there again, when you're talking about how you get along with each other, it's all about communication. It's about talking and being open. It's about the meetings. We've gotten away from sitting down and having those quarterly meetings with each other and even breaking bread and discussing issues. That's where, things get done. We forget, you have to give the school board the respect the school board has. Their job is simply to do what's best for schools. As a county commissioner, where sometimes you get sideways as with any department, we have to look at what's best for the county overall. And that's not always what the school board wants. But as a whole, I believe the working relationship today has improved, and we've built bridges and come together and communicate as good now. We've even, if you remember just a few years back, the city school board came down and started sitting with the county commission because they were at odds with the city council. So they started coming into meetings and sitting down with the county commission. So I think other than the rift we've had with the city council, the time I've came on and the bridges we've built with all the different governing bodies is immaculate compared to what it was.
Okay, Jack.
While the relationship between the county commission and the school board may be at a better state than it was in previous years, there's always room for improvement with relationships between government and the transparency of the school board and things like that. It's going to come down to certain individuals and politics being set aside, egos being set aside, so that two entities can come together and work together for the betterment of the community. Education is one of the foundations of every community. It's a gateway to many opportunities for citizens in Bradley County and across the land. So, just being able to put those things aside and being able to establish a working relationships is very important.
All right. John, I'll let you ask another question.
I'll just be simplistic. How do y'all feel about a tax increase?
The tax increase, well, I think Jeff could probably agree that we have probably the poorest district, or if one of the poorest districts in Bradley County. To go straight to asking for a tax increase would be almost ludicrous in my opinion. I am strongly for looking for any ways that we can look at the budget and cut down our costs, hold departments accountable for the spending. We need to prepare Bradley County for bringing in new businesses or capitalizing on tourism opportunities and things like that, so we can offset any tax increases that we need to do. Tax increase would be the absolute last thing that I would look at to implement in Bradley County.
All right, Jeff.
Well, as I've said, I've been on the commission for 12 years. I'm not one of those never say never kind of guys, but to date, I've never supported a tax increase. We did send the wheel tax to the referendum to be voted on, which I got, kind of handed as if it were mine, which it weren't. It was the school board asked for it, and education committee brought it to the commission to do what was the right thing to do, which was put it forward to the residents. I would keep in mind, as we campaign, when we campaign and you campaign on you support everything. You need more firefighters, if you need more police officers, if you want higher pay for county employees, you want better roads. Those type of things come with a price tag. I've been in office long enough to understand that everything that sounds good on the front end, but on the back end, it comes with a price tag. You got to figure out how to pay for it. And what I would ask is, if you're going to cut a budget, without doing zero-based budgeting, show me which budget you're going to cut. Show me who it is that's overusing their money. Because sometimes when we campaign on that and we need to cut budgets, if you'll show me which one it is, and I'd be glad to look at it.
All right, thank you. Franklin, I'll let you ask a question.
All right. One of the things that we talk about on this show locally a lot is the need for planning for the future. Can each of you tell us what you think the most important priorities for the next 10 years for Bradley County are going to be? And where would you focus your efforts as it relates to those priorities?
So 10-year plan. Jack Burke.
I think we got to start focusing on our infrastructure for Bradley County. It's no secret that Bradley County is growing. In order for it to grow, in order for it to attract new businesses, we have to have a proper infrastructure. It's been known in the past that companies have bypassed us because we don't have, an adequate road for their plant or their manufacturer that they want to build in here, or we don't have enough schools at some points. We don't have enough this and that. So if we don't have a proper structure to support these industries that want to come in here, I think that's key to growth. When Volkswagen was going to be building in Chattanooga, we lollygagged with the Exit 20. I think now that we're behind. It's no coincidence that Exit 20 conveniently suddenly gets a lot of attention when a pilot gets put down on that exit. Suddenly, that's when we want to build things. We're already behind in that aspect. So without that infrastructure, which is vital to resources and economic growth in this county, we're going to strangle ourselves.
All right, Jeff Yarber.
Well, first off, no company in the 12 years I've been here has bypassed us because we have a lack of schools or because we have a lack of roads. We were bypassed because we didn't have shovel-ready sites. And as far as Exit 20 goes, that's federally and state funded in building that. We do now have put in for the business part to go down there, and they are slowly but surely bringing the interchanges in. If on the federal level they stop saying they're out of money and put more money back into the road situation, that will be funded. I don't believe that anything's been done there just because of the pilot station. I don't think a gas station dictates what may or may not go in at Exit 20. Now, if you come on down a little bit farther, since I've been in office, many of you remember the late, great Courtney McGrady, who was instrumental in bringing Walmart in and bringing the Walmart Plaza in and bringing KFC to that side of town. We've now got the Bank of Cleveland. We've got Wendy's. We've got, Taco Bell's came in. There's just more and more going on. So there is a lot of things going on the south side of town, as you see, from where it was 12 years ago today. And I don't take credit for that, but it's happened under my tenure while I've been in office.
Well,
Steve, Jack, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I agree. There is a lot of things that are going on the south end of town. Businesses are closing. Businesses are leaving that district. Lots are vacant. Abandoned buildings are left standing. Children are afraid to play in their own yards by their parents because there's buildings surrounding them that are about to collapse. There's flooding issues that need to be addressed. There's grocery stores that have closed. There's communities that do not have access to fresh groceries or food. There's a poor public transportation system going on in the south end of town. That district's been overlooked by the. I'm not going to blame Jeff Yarber all alone. It's a lack of focus from the whole county. The boundaries of Bradley County do not stop at Inman Street, but the government seems to think that it does. We need to put focus back on the south end of town.
Okay. Yep, I'm going to let you respond back to that.
Until Benchmark bought the plaza up there across the street from Church of God, it was vacant. I believe you have places vacant here. There are vacant places on the south end of town. What I will tell you is, rather than walk around with a video recorder and video things, my opponent decided, and he formed his Facebook page in 2011, March 10th, 2011, and decided that's when he was going to run for office. And since then, hasn't made one phone call to me to serve on any committee or with any issue that was out there. 3 doors down from him is one of the worst flooding problems in the 5th District. He's not attended one meeting in response to the flooding issues that I've been working on down there. So he can, there's a lot of things going on. Whirlpool left. The city promised, as I fought that issue, the city promised that they're going to do a revitalization down there. 80% of that district, as we said earlier, is in the city. So you've got to work with the city council to get anything done over there. The 20% that's in the county, there's one issue right now that I'm working on that's in the county. Every other issue I'm working on is in the city. So when you sit there and say all these things are happening, don't walk around the video recorder. Get your hands dirty and do something about it.
All right. I think they're...
I would like to interject something.
Okay.
And I want to correct something. I'm not picking on Mr. Burke, but the reason Exit 20 didn't get any attention is because the Democrats held control of the legislature for 142 years. And East Tennessee, being a strong Republican district, got no funds. Jimmy Nafee and Ned Ray McWhirter killed that project over and over and over again. You can ask Dwayne Bunch about it. We weren't getting any money there. So the fact that we're getting money there is not because Pilot Oil opened up a gas station there. We're getting it because Republicans, after 142 years, took control of the legislature, and federal and state highway funds are finally being given out based on actual need and not to reward Democratic buddies.
Franklin, I'll let you respond to that.
Well, I certainly have a different perspective than that.
Can you explain why they didn't fund it?
Yeah, I can. Every time.
Welcome to Backfire.
Yeah, I can. When all of our elected representatives bend over backwards to try to embarrass, criticize,
so in other words, they did
slander
use state funds instead of to benefit the taxpayer. They used it to punish their enemies. Thanks for admitting it, Franklin.
Hey, we got 5 more minutes here.
The governor came here and announced different things that he was doing in Bradley County, and our representatives skewered him for doing it.
So he punished us.
No.
He punished us to get his enemies. Thanks
okay, guys. Okay, we're getting away from why we're here. Jack Burke, Jeff Yarber here from doing their thing this morning, running for office, and I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes each to respond, and give me some last quotes going out, and then I'll let each of you have one shot back at each other after you do your 2-minute response, okay? And then we're going to wind this up for this half of the show.
I'm running for the county commissioner because I believe that it's time for responsible leadership in the 5th District. There's many issues that have been left unresolved in the 5th District. There's issues that have been forgotten about, issues that have left people feeling hopeless in that district. I've made it the purpose of this campaign to try to bring about some new ideas and put a new perspective on those things. They're solving problems. I've got out and I've walked long hours, knocked on many doors to listen to a lot of concerns of everyone in the district, not just Democrats, but also Republicans. For me, this is not about party. It's about individuals that are willing to take on the responsibility to work for their community and represent their community. There's hardworking people in that district that's watched while businesses closed and manufacturers left behind abandoned buildings and things like that have left eyesores, property devaluing, and crime has risen in that neighborhood. People struggle every day in that neighborhood. it's time for different types of leadership. Not one full of empty promises and lies, but one that's filled with purpose and action. It's time that the 5th District gets that responsible leadership, willing to listen to concerns of the citizens. 30-year problems, over 50 years combination of opportunity of the current representation to fix these opportunities that have gone unfixed. So I would ask people that they vote for a new set of ideals and a new vision for that. Okay. And remember, you get 2 votes, and I would appreciate to be at least one of those votes.
All right, thank you. All right, Jeff, go ahead.
First off, I'd like to thank Jack for being here. I appreciate anybody who takes the time and effort to put their name on the ballot and run for office. Jack said, my opponent said it good. He said there's a lot of issues there are. When I took office, there were a lot of issues. The graveyard was overran. What I did, while Richard Banks and I fought Joe V. Williams to make sure that got taken care of, I didn't whine about it. I didn't cry about it. I went there and got a lawnmower, went there and started mowing the graveyard. Archer Lane had houses that were abandoned. We got them torn down, and taken care of. Blythe Avenue, we formed a citizens action group. David Conley, the old shotgun houses over there, talking about revitalization. If you look right there where the old coke plant was, where David Conley's place is now, he's bought all those houses and revitalized all those houses and taken what was a rundown community and built it up. The issue in our district isn't necessarily that people don't care. People do care. And you can sit there and call me a liar all you want to, but one thing that I've been known for as my 12 years tenure is I shoot straight. I call it like I said. That's why I get calls every day. That's why people will tell you, if you're going to go up against me, make sure you got your facts straight, which many of your facts aren't straight. And I will give my opponent credit for this right here. He's a great armchair quarterback. He goes around, he videotapes, and he complains. While he's doing that, I've been out working. I've been out rolling my sleeves up, getting my hands dirty. I've been out, working on the issues. I didn't just start 3 months ago. I didn't just, when I decided that it was time to run, I didn't do it then. I've been doing it for 12 years now. 50 years of leadership. My counterpart, Bill Ledford, who's going to be highly missed on the commission, served 42 years. That's the constituents, the voters kept reelecting him. It's always interesting to me when the Democrats in the district will say, or running for office will say, party doesn't matter, but you still put that D by your name. I'm a Republican. I'm the Republican candidate, and I'm running for the office as a Republican candidate, and I'm going to do what I continue doing. I'm going to win this race. When I win, if Jack wants to serve on a committee, I'll put him on a committee he wants to serve on. I'll let him serve. Okay. But from there, I'm going to continue to do what I've always done.
All right. We're about to wind it up. I want to ask one more thing of both of you, and I'll let you respond to one question from me. We've got the SPCA shelter that's hitting the headlines again right now with the county. And, when you came in, you said, Jack, you've been involved in the setup or start of that thing, I believe, if I heard you right. I just want to know, what do you think the solution is to fix it? And I'll ask both of you the same question. I'll let you go first, Jack.
I wasn't involved in the activist group that got the SPCA created. I came on board after the fact that it was created as the treasurer. There's a lot of infighting and bickering. There's a lot of growing pains, as Commissioner Hall has noted on previous occasions. That's the key, is getting those groups to work together and focus on the issue of actually getting those animals out of there. A lot of things look good on paper. A lot of things are shoot from the hip. The SPCA may be one of those things. Is there a quick, easy fix? I'm not sure there is. $80,000 is the bare minimum budget that they requested. The county commission thought that was good enough to run a county shelter. That's what we're dealing with. It's proven to be a difficult, arduous task. It proves, again, that things on paper aren't always what they seem.
Okay. All right, Jeff, go ahead quick.
First and foremost, it was a bad idea. It was a knee-jerk reaction. The county commission got angry with the city and broke away. I'm not for duplicating any services. This is creating more government duplicating services. They tried to throw it together in a few months. And since its inception, everything's gone wrong. It's been imploding, and some commissioners have been turning a blind eye to it and then trying to say everything's okay. Everything's not okay. What needs to happen, the fix is to go back to the city council, ask for a another contract with the city council. Start from there. You know what? It's going to cost us more than the $80,000, but it's going to cost us less than what this quagmire we're in right now is going to cost us. If they want to break off on their own, I'll never support duplicating services, but that's the route they want to go. Actually put planning into it. I've always said an old football analogy is planning and execution. And when you make a mistake and know you made a mistake, go back up and punt and go and redo it and do it the right way.
All right, thank you, Jeff. I want to thank both of you for coming into the studio this morning. Thank you for running. I want to respond to the SPCA, and I want to respond to the article I read in Sunday's newspaper about this. This was ramping the front page, quarter of the page, and then goes into page 9, about 3/4 of a page, of the person who running the thing just ramping and carrying on and carrying on. That tells me this person has no ability to run a business. Now, I think it was left up to someone who loves animals, and the animal lover can't run a business. Not I won't say all of them can't, but I think that the wrong person was picked to manage this shelter. And I'm getting that opinion just from reading the article and the things that were said. I mean, there was no business plan. It's not being watched. Everything they talked about was over budget. There was, it's just pretty obvious from reading the article that it's just totally mismanaged.
I don't think it's the person running the shelter. I think she cares and I think it's some people on the board that keep hijacking it. I think Bobby Anderson has her heart in the right place. I think some members on the board are the ones that, if things don't go their way.
What I guess I'm trying to say, heart and loving dogs and animals is not going to get this done. Right. You've got to come up with a business plan, and you got to run it that way.
Well, the county commission should have had the foresight to see there was a lack of business plan to start with when they voted on it, if that's what they felt. Like Jeff said, Bobby Anderson has worked very, very hard over there at that shelter to keep it running with the bare minimum budget that they have. There are groups that are involved in that have made attempts to hijack that situation and made it very difficult for the SPCA to function at full capacity.
Can I ask one quick question? And I don't know a whole lot about this, but the $80,000, how long was that for?
That's a year.
Yeah, a year.
How long have they had it?
They've been in operation a little less than 6 months.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's the thing. But keep in mind, three county commissioners did have the foresight to see it wasn't going to work. That was myself, Brian Smith, and Bill Winters. We voted against this. Brian Smith and I really fought hard against this. So we did have the foresight. And I'm not going to go back now and say I told you so, but I told you so.
Well, and maybe the city wasn't so far off. And maybe they ought to look at reworking this thing together.
We ought to point out that there is a third candidate in this race, Bobby Goins. He was extended an invitation to appear today and was unable to for I don't know what.
He's got family issues.
But he was invited, and we don't want the public to think that he wasn't.
Okay. Well, listen, Jack Burke, thank you for coming in this morning.
I appreciate it.
Really wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
Jeff,
good
to see you again, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back, and we've got some exciting things coming up for the second half.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
You need money overnight? Check into cash. Your time is tight. .com. Bank account's too low? Check into cash. So where do you go? .com. Do it online in a record time. It's the easy way to get money next day. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. Just stay in the house. Check into cash and grab your mouse. .com. Get your money online. Check into cash right on time. .com. You can be sure it's secure from our bank straight to yours. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. No time to get away. Check into cash. You gotta stay home.com. Hey, that's okay. Check into cash. You can do it alone.com. Any old time, do it online. Just stay in the house and grab your mouse. Do a quick click from home. Get your money overnight at the right website. Do a quick click from home. Go to checkintocash.com.
Did you know that U.S. Money Shops cashes all checks, even the ones most check cashers reject? Tax refund checks, government checks, payroll checks, and many more. And when you cash a check with U.S. Money Shops, we'll give you 10% off your next purchase. At U.S. Money Shops, we have everything you need at a fraction of regular retail. So stop by one of our 11 locations or visit us online at usmoneyshops.com.
Buy or sell or buy today. The better way at U.S. Money Shops.
Some restrictions may apply. See store for details.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
My name is Vicki Lee. 16 years ago, my son was murdered by a stranger on meth while standing in his own driveway. I am thankful for people like Sandra Donaghy, a person that does her job. She treats people with respect and dignity. She listens to hurting families. And I know, had it not been for Sandra Donaghy making sure this person was punished by law, this man would have walked. I know families that suffer because of justice not being done. Thank you, Sandra Donaghy, for all you do.
My name is Sandra Donaghy, and I approve this message.
From checking to cash, they're coming to town. Mighty Clydesdales of world renown. Such a rare sight, all black and white. Big excitement all around.
Check Into Cash, your one-stop money shop, introduces the Cashdales, our beautiful Clydesdale horses now touring the United States, representing our company heritage, appearing in parades, events, and visiting Check Into Cash locations.
2,000 pounds marching around, every hoofbeat shaking the ground. Tall as the sky, 18 hands high, they're gentle giants, so don't be shy.
Check Into Cash, now celebrating 20 years, is proud to present the beautiful Clydesdale horses. Visit cashdales.com for the upcoming schedule and more information.
Check Into Cash, they're on their way. The mighty Clydesdales will make your day.
Ah, the sounds of summer. If you had a pool, from Matthews Pool and Spa Company, 902 Sahara Drive in Cleveland, Tennessee. Call them at 423-476-4521 and get the pool or spa of your dreams. Do it now, Cleveland. Locally owned and operated for over 25 years right here in Cleveland, Tennessee, with over 75 years of total experience in the installation of pools and spas. So check out Matthews Pool and Spa for your new pool, spa, or any accessories you may need for a pool or spa you already have. Check them out here in Cleveland on Sahara Drive, 476-4521. Look out, kids, I'm going to jump. Woo!
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
All right, we're back in the studio. We've got a special guest that'll be here in a few minutes that we're going to bring in. But in the meantime, let's continue talking about just some local things. This SPCA, I know it's a touchy subject, but, you know, the article that was in Sunday's banner deserves a little conversation, I think, from all of us this morning.
Well, I just think that this is an example where we've messed up success. I mean, everybody seemed to think the arrangement that we had before between the city and the county was working. I didn't hear a lot of complaints about it. I certainly appreciate the desire to save money, but by the same token, sometimes things aren't broke. Let's not fix them. And this seems to be an example where we've created a problem that didn't exist before.
Well, I mean, you know, I think
you agree to that, John?
I think you have to give, and I'm not trying to pick sides, you have to give Jeff some credit. There were 3 county commissioners that said basically what Franklin said. Look, why are we fixing this? You know, I'll be honest with you. I'm hesitant to talk about it because I'm sure my detached sort of reality-based discussion will make people mad, and they get very inflamed on this situation. But the fact of the matter is, you can't always be led by your heart. You've got to be led by your head. I'll give you a good example. The BP oil spill down in the Gulf. There was a scientist, and she had I don't know how many doctorates from Denmark or somewhere. She wrote a piece, and she said, look, I was involved in the Exxon Valdez. And based on my experience in Exxon Valdez, you should now get ready to get in trouble. You should kill all of the animals that you find in the Gulf that have been coated in oil and all. You shouldn't spend the money to save them, because 95% of all the animals we try to save are going to die, and that money is wasted. You would be better off to go ahead and put them out of their misery and spend that money to clean the Gulf up, so the animals that were alive and that were unhurt or they would be born would have an environment that they could survive in. She got death threats. Now, she was making a purely scientific, fact-based argument. So
you might get death threats.
It bothers me that you should be guided by your heart, but you have to act with your head. These things have to make sense. And sometimes I think we let our emotions get away with us, and you end up like all these groups. They all love the animals. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say this group is actually some kind of cover for people that actually hate animals. So if you accept that they all love animals, why would we be fighting like we are if we all have the same goal in mind? Now, I've probably made a bunch of enemies just by saying that.
Anyway, I'm trying to get something done on my cell phone here. Anyway,
well, this
go ahead, Frank.
Well, it's just an area where those rare gems of occurrences where John and I tend to agree with each other. I understand that there are some people who think that this is a service that we shouldn't provide at all. Okay, I understand. Whether you agree or disagree with that, that's at least a debate to have. I just don't understand what we've done. I think what we've really done here in an apparent attempt to save a few $1,000s is destroy a well-functioning system. And there's nothing wrong with trying to save money. So I'm not suggesting that. But by the same token, sometimes things are functioning at an optimum level, and they're functioning because they have the right amount of funding going to it. And I think that's what we had here. We had a great arrangement that was getting great publicity for the city, kudos by most of the people in the animal community. And at this point, we should cut our losses and go back to doing what we were doing before.
Well, no, I'm not disagreeing with Frank, but I will say that these rivalries were there before this. I think Franklin's right. I think we made a mistake in messing with it. But by the same token, I've seen this in all kinds of groups. It's really tough when you have opposing sides on how to approach well, Republicans and Democrats do this. Nobody wants children to go hungry. But you have an election and one side wins and one side loses. What we would hope was that everybody would come back together and the losing side would actually say, hey, I lost, but we're all going to work now to try to be successful. And unfortunately, when emotions get into play, we start going, well, by God, I didn't get my way, so I don't want you to be successful, because then that will vindicate that you were right and I was wrong. And the problem with that is you've lost sight of your goal. You've put your personal ambition, your personal emotion ahead of actually the accomplishment of the goal. And I just think we need to kind of back up. And Franklin's right. I think this was a mistake. But by having said that, I think it could have worked. And I do think you had people that were hoping it wouldn't work.
Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, the city was running this. Some of the county people started thinking that the city was spending too much money, and that we could do it cheaper. And next thing we know, they were split, and they're fighting and fussing with each other again. And that's the problem we're having between the council and the city. And I hope they can amend this problem and come back together and put something together that can work. You know what? Use your judgment here. Let's look at the whole program. Let's see where they can save some money, where they were doing it before when they were working together. And if there is any money to save, try to save it. And let's move on. And if there's not, let's move on.
Well, let me. Now I'm going to get philosophical on you, and we've talked about this in other avenues as well. There's also the problem of the more the government does for people, the less responsibility people take. Yeah. When nobody wants to harm, or decent people don't want to harm an animal, but because you were responsible, like on the farm, you might take your dog and have it spayed and neutered because you didn't want to see those puppies die. You didn't want to see those puppies have to be given away or worse. But once government steps in and starts going, you know what, we're going to take care of this for you, people quit accepting responsibility for their own sphere of influence. And so they go, I'm not going to fix that dog. So the animal shelter will take care of it. So I'm concerned, too, that just as a culture, the more responsibility government assumes, the less personal responsibility we take.
Well, anyway, I think they need to work out the issues. Let's get this thing fixed. They've been spending too much time going back and forth for months on this thing. There's more time being wasted than money saved, I think. Let's talk about the border real quick. I think Tennessee's about to get 750 kids.
Well, we don't know because the president's flying these people around the country and not notifying the governors. He's secretly bringing immigrants into states without telling governors.
Well, I thought that we had.
Well, we've identified that, but we weren't notified of it. We weren't notified.
So we're assuming we're going to get
right.
750, and that'd be spread out 95 counties roughly. So that's 7-8 kids per county.
Well, I think it's likely that the urban areas
will get more.
Yeah. I mean, we are talking about these children here. We're not talking
about...
Now,
let me correct something. We're not talking about children. Just last week, we've identified adult people sneaking across the southern border from Asia, from the Mideast, from Africa. This is a national security threat that this president doesn't take seriously.
From what he brought up.
My point is, Franklin, we're couching the issue in, this is all children, so that he can go, I don't want to send National Guard to the border. It's not all children. We got drug mules coming across, and now we have foreign nationals from the worst terrorist spots in the world sneaking across our southern border.
And we have twice as many Border Patrol agents as we did
50 miles back from the border.
As we did 8 years ago.
50 miles back from
and the president has asked for more of them and been turned down.
Why won't he give Rick Perry the National Guard that he asked for?
Why wouldn't he even go?
Why wouldn't he go visit the border that the Democrat representatives asked him to do, instead of going and playing golf and pool at a Democratic fundraiser?
And truly, that does puzzle me. Why do you think he wouldn't just go by and visit the border while he's in Texas?
What's that supposed to accomplish, driving by the border?
Well,
I don't know. Supposed to solve the problem somehow?
I believe he was pretty good at criticizing President Bush for not going to Katrina. What was he supposed to do? Clean the oil up single-handedly?
But yet Bush
Obama
did go to Katrina.
He flew over, and you all made fun of him for not going down. So President Obama had no problem making fun of President Bush for not going and looking at the problem.
I mean, if he was there, he was in the state, why wouldn't he stop by?
Because it's all about the campaign.
What was his agenda? Optics. I mean, was he so busy that he couldn't?
Well, he had to go play pool in Colorado, and he had to go to a $40,000 a plate fundraiser.
I did watch when he was playing pool in Colorado. Some guy asked him if he wanted to hit off his joint. What do you think the president of the United States supposed to? I can't imagine him being close enough to somebody smoking a joint to ask him that.
I don't think the guy actually was. He made a joke.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
By the way, we've got Michelle Obama at a dinner the other night, and this is a quote from her. So, yeah, there's too much money in politics. There's special interests that have too much influence. And about a minute later, she said, there is something you can do right now to make a difference, and that is to write a big, fat check. I kid you not. That's what we need you to do right now. We need you to write the biggest, fattest check you can possibly write. So, in one breath, she says there's too much money in politics. So what she means is there's too much money in politics that doesn't come to them.
No, I think she means exactly what she's saying. We either fix the system for everybody, or we keep going down this path.
They raised more money than the Republicans raised. The biggest money was in their hands, not ours. And yet she has the gall to say there's too much money in politics.
It's not really which party it's going to that concerns me. It's how much of it there is.
Franklin, this president is the most professional money raiser in the history of the country.
I'm not trying to advocate for raising more money. I'm trying to advocate for raising less money.
You're missing my point. He advocates for raising less money while he raises more money than anyone.
What about all these things that they're saying now that the Democrats are putting out that they're saying the Republicans are saying this now? There was a Republican that
you're talking about the
mentioned
impeachment stuff.
Yeah, the impeachment.
It's all them. It's all a fundraising ploy by the Democrat Party. The only people talking about impeachment are the Democrats. Now, Franklin's going to Google and go, oh, Sarah Palin said this. The leadership, the people that would actually have the responsibility of doing this. John Boehner said, we are not planning on impeachment. We have no future plans to impeach. That's the Speaker of the House. But yet you had Harry Reid going, oh, they're getting ready to impeach. Now, that's the same guy who goes to the floor of the Senate to make obvious lies about Republican candidates because he knows he can't be sued for libel if he says it on the floor of the Senate.
With all the turmoil that's going on around our country, what do you think our president should be doing right now? Or is he doing what's right now, or is he doing what's wrong? I'll throw it another direction.
Well, there's so many different areas to talk about. I mean, what we saw this week is that the efforts that have been made to try and rally the folks in Europe have finally paid off, and they started joining us in the sanctions against Russia, which we then doubled down on yesterday. So,
did we ever open up to send them some natural gas or anything like that? That's what's going to kill Russia.
That's what would kill Russia. Now, look, I'm not going to criticize the president. The steps he took were strong steps. My problem, and I've said this all along, is he's gotten us into part of this mess by being weak. Weakness invites this kind of action. And so the first thing he did when he took office was to kill a missile defense system in Poland that was already in place. Bush had already negotiated. The Polish government was furious with us. And that emboldened Russia to do some of the very things that he is now, and I'm giving him credit. He's trying hard. However, having said that, France is selling them some kind of unbelievably advanced attack warships. He didn't say a word to France. He hadn't shut that sale down, which he ought to do. And you're right. If he really wanted to hurt them, he would open up the federal lands that he has reduced oil and gas production on in his 5 years, and he would begin pumping oil and gas out by the billions of barrels, offering it to Europe, and that would actually free the European Union up to even be harsher with Russia.
Well, first of all, the ship that you're talking about, the Russians had already paid the French for. That's the problem.
The French shouldn't have done it.
Well,
and they wouldn't have done it with a strong American president.
That's really not true, because so many American industries are also doing business with Russia. That's part of these sanctions, is cutting back American businesses who are doing business there.
He should have done it years ago, frankly. Explain the missile defense thing to me. Explain what benefit did we get out of canceling the missile defense with Poland?
In hindsight, we probably got
nothing. We emboldened Russia, which is what I said at the time.
I don't think there's any.
It's what Republicans said at the time.
I don't think that that's accurate in terms of the oil and gas. Exports have increased dramatically.
Not on federal land, and the bulk of our reserves are on federal land.
Where they come from is irrelevant if the exports are going up.
Franklin, you're missing the point. If he'd opened federal land up, we could triple the exports.
The fact is, by 2020, 6 years from now, we're going to be the largest oil producer in the world.
In spite of everything your president has done to cut production on federal land.
It's amazing how we keep succeeding in spite of him.
He didn't do it. He did not. He did the opposite, Franklin. You want to give him credit for things he actually opposed.
He didn't oppose increasing those things.
He did too, Franklin. No. The land he could have increased production on, he reduced production on. It was only the land he couldn't actually get his tight little fist around that increased production.
But all of the policies that he put in place encouraged that other exploration.
No, it didn't, Franklin.
Yes, it did.
The policies were done in spite of his actions.
All right. We've got a special guest that has joined us in the studio this morning. Good morning, Senator Bell.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you?
Senator Mike Bell in the studio with us this morning. Good morning. I know you had something you wanted to talk about this morning, so I'm going to let you just get started with it.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve, and I'll try to make at least the opening of this brief. Steve, we are in, as most people know, if you've been paying attention to any news media at all, we are in an election, and one of the key races in this election is whether we should replace or retain our current Supreme Court. Again, a brief history lesson. Our Constitution of 1796, when our state was founded, had the judges of the state chosen by the legislature. In 1834, we had another constitutional convention, and at that time, we went to popularly electing our Supreme Court judges. That's the way it stood from 1834 to 1971. In 1971, what happened was, for the first time in 50 years, we had a Republican governor elected, Winfield Dunn, in 1970. The Democrat legislature realized at that time that the governor would be able to put Republicans on the Supreme Court when a vacancy occurred. And they also feared that would end up with us having a Republican attorney general. So the legislature in 1971 created this retention vote process that we have, where we vote yes, no on judges every 8 years, and created a nominating commission to give judges, or to give the governor, to limit who he could put on the court by filtering those nominees through a nominating process. That's why we are at where we are at right now. We're voting for years. I've been voting since 1982. I guess that's Franklin's first year of voting as well. John might have started voting in 1980. But every time one of these elections have come up, I've always voted replace, John. And I've voted replace because I have no idea who these people are. And so this year is nothing new for me to campaign to get people to vote replace on the judges. But as we've seen, there's a very organized effort, not only to defend the judges, but also to tell people why they should vote against the judges. I'm for replacing these judges, but again, it's nothing new for me. I've been that way from the beginning. But I'm for replacing these judges because these judges are hardcore partisan Democrats. Now, I've got a copy of an article that you just gave me here, where Judge Wade in Jonesboro said judges are to be nonpartisan. Well, if that's true, and let me pull up the figures here.
Wade has donated 70% of his money, $27,311 to Democrat candidates, including Vice President Al Gore, former U.S. Representative Harold Ford, Democratic Party Chairman Roy Herron, Democratic National Committee, gave at least $3,000 to Bredesen, who appointed him.
Well, and John, during this campaign, they have paid Victoria McCullough $15,500. Now, Victoria McCullough was an Obama operative and part of the Obama campaign team in Tennessee. They have paid Brenda Gadd $7,500, who worked for Democrat Senator Kilby and Democrat Governor Phil Bredesen. They have paid the Democrat Party $5,000 to help them with their campaign this year. And they've also paid the Hart Research Associates, which is a polling firm out of Washington, D.C., a Democrat polling firm, $34,000.
But they're nonpartisan.
They're nonpartisan. And I'm a partisan. I've always been a partisan. Now, I have to work with both sides in Nashville. If somebody calls me back home here about an issue, I don't care whether they're a Democrat or Republican. I've worked with Jim Bilbo on issues, and Jim Bilbo's a Democrat State Executive Committee man. When he's called me up concerned about issues, and you could ask him, I have been very open to working with him. I'm nonpartisan when it comes to working with people, but when it comes to party politics, I'm a partisan. And what bothers me about these Supreme Court judges is that they want to say they're not partisan. They want to claim that we're bringing partisanship into this process for the first time ever. This process has been partisan from its inception. From its conception, it's been partisan, and that's what bothers me, and that's what I wanted to respond to in hearing and seeing what the judges are saying.
Well, I know Franklin's got a response, so we'll go ahead and let you have your response.
Oh, I do. First of all, what you didn't hear was any criticism of anything any of these judges actually did as a Supreme Court justice.
Well, let's talk about crime victims.
No, you're going to hear from me first. I'll listen to you in a minute.
Well, you said that hadn't been. I'll be glad to give it to you.
I said you didn't hear anything.
Wait just a minute. Let's let him speak.
Let me tell you what we actually do here. we now have a system where these judges have to be evaluated by a group of not just lawyers, but citizens too, who sit down and put them through a rigorous interview process, who evaluate the work they do. And that particular group right now is composed of 9 people, 8 of whom are Republicans. So there's 9 people on this commission that evaluates these people. 8 of them are Republicans, appointed by a Republican. Even our own Judge Mike Sharp here serves on that commission.
Which one of the Supreme Court justices misrepresented what Mike did on that and claimed an endorsement, which, by the way, she so certainly implied an endorsement. She misrepresented what Mike Sharp did on that committee and implied, which, by the way, is illegal. They're traveling together, endorsing each other, which is actually a violation of the law.
9-member committee, 8 Republicans voted unanimously to retain Justice Lee from Madisonville here. That's a fact.
Congratulations, folks. 5 million people in the state of Tennessee get to rely on 9 people's judgment for their Supreme Court justices.
The point here is this isn't about anything they did as justices.
Well, it could be about deciding that an election was actually...
Nobody could possibly conclude that our Supreme Court is liberal. Nobody could.
Frankly, we have the most liberal abortion rights in the country because of a ruling by these justices.
Really?
Not because the people wanted that, but because the Supreme Court said it.
On every corner, John, because
actually we are a destination state. 25% of the abortions in the state of Tennessee are from out of state.
I'd like to have Senator Bill.
I'm not through, though.
You're not? Well, go ahead.
The people who are running this campaign, who are running these ridiculous lies on television, saying that the Tennessee Supreme Court didn't stop Obamacare, what did they have to do with Obamacare?
They appointed Cooper, and he refused to participate in the lawsuit.
Guess what?
Why won't you let us elect the Attorney
Justice
General?
Lee wasn't even on the Supreme Court when Cooper was put on there.
Why won't they just say, fine, we'll take that off the table. We'll go ahead and allow you to elect them.
All this money flowing into our state from out of state to pay for this
smear campaign.
You think that's
horrible?
Oh, yes, I do.
So George Soros money coming in to elect them is okay.
Absolutely.
So once again, just like Michelle Obama, it's okay if big money comes in to help liberal Democrats, but it's not okay if it helps the common conservative principles of Tennessee.
This is a naked attempt to buy our Supreme Court.
It's a naked attempt to take it back from a bunch of liberal bureaucrats that have insulated it from the public.
Just like they've done in other states.
We want you to vote, folks. That's all this is about.
Your judges,
we want you to vote.
So they'll be in your back pocket.
We want you to vote.
Okay, have you got anything else to say about this?
I could talk for hours.
Hold on, I'll let Senator Bell come back.
Shameful things going on in our state.
We're happy to have Senator Bell in here with us, and let's try to keep this calm and be professional.
I'm not calm about this one.
Okay.
Well, and I'm not either. I'm going to, but I'm going to try to keep my emotions in check on this. Our Supreme Court, as John has already pointed out, has made some, and I will reference them here. I've got at least 2 cases from victims' rights cases. There was a great editorial in the Tennessean 2 days ago from victims who feel like they were victimized again by the Supreme Court. Connie Clark, in particular, who said that she didn't feel like there should be any emotion in a sentencing phase of sentencing a criminal. And she says that we shouldn't be able to show pictures of people who've been murdered. Now, if they had been raped or if they had been assaulted, they could be in the courtroom and you could see them, but we don't need to show any pictures of these people. We don't need to bring any emotion. It's a very emotional experience to have somebody murdered, and it is devastating to the family. But no, she didn't want that coming in. She wanted to protect the criminals from any harsher penalties. That's one example. But I would also say that again, my main issue in this is that these judges are trying to say they're nonpartisan. That's BS. It's BS. They're partisan. This has been a partisan process from the beginning. And for years, John and Franklin, since 1971, there's been a ball game going on every 8 years, but only one team's been showing up. You've got the second team showing up this time. You've got somebody else actually coming and saying, let's make this a contest when it's never been a contest before. Only one time in the history of this retention election has a judge not been retained, 1996, Judge Penny White, and that was because of a very, I guess you would call it an organic grassroots movement that started because she overturned a death penalty case in Memphis. But outside of that, there's never been a concerted effort to say, if this is an election, let's have an election. Again, I disagree with that this is an election. That's why I've always voted no on these judges. But 3 times a special Supreme Court ruled that this is an election. You can't have an election unless 2 sides show up and there's competing ideas. We're having a competitive election this time for the first time ever, and I welcome it, and I'd like to see these judges voted out.
Is there anything wrong with an election, Franklin?
We do have an election, but the problem is this. You don't want your judges out campaigning and begging people for money.
Why not? I trust them to be fair when they're sitting on the bench, so why can't I listen to them on a campaign trail?
Because judges, first of all, can't get out and tell you.
Well, apparently these 3
cases.
can because they're out campaigning for each other as we speak. Which is a
and
violation of their ethical code.
And they're getting almost all their money from the attorneys who practice before them. I keep hearing this word dark money from out of state. Well, the darkest money in this race is from the attorneys who are practicing before these judges who are funding this campaign. Well,
what's dark
a
about
conflict
the people?
of interest.
It's a conflict
It's
of
a
interest.
conflict of interest for us to know more about these people
it's fine.
and see the job they're doing.
No, it's not. It's fine for you to make your case. Just let the people vote. Here, let me address something.
We let them vote on the governor.
Let me address something here
that
Mike kind of alluded to, but I'll be a little bit more specific. Franklin's real big on telling me, here's a Republican that did this or that. I will criticize a Republican that does something I don't agree with. Mickey Barker's running some ads right now. He's a former Chief Justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court. Now, let me point something out to you. Now, you explain the logic and the ethics of this, Franklin. Mickey Barker is one of the ones that agrees that a yes-no retention vote qualifies as an election. Now, when that language was written hundreds of years ago, nobody in their right mind would say that yes-no retention qualifies an election. But that's his position on the issue. It qualifies as an election. 2 months ago, he had the gall to say that what the Republicans were doing out of the lieutenant governor's office was an insult, and they had no right to be out campaigning against these people. So my question to Chief Justice Barker is, if yes-no retention qualifies as an election, but you only want people to be able to vote yes, that's the same kind of election that Saddam Hussein had in Iraq. They had an open election. You could only vote for Saddam Hussein, though.
People have the option of voting.
Well, then why did he say it was unethical for anybody to campaign against these people?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He went on the record in June of this year.
But I will tell you this.
He attacked the lieutenant governor, and he said it was shameful, and it was unrepresentative, and it was a horrible thing that anybody was campaigning against these judges. He's violating his very own principle, and that's what Mike and I are talking about. We trust the people of the state to choose their representatives.
Well, that's great, and I trust people too if we can get them fair information, but we can't do that while we're getting the smear campaign being run on television.
Oh, and George Soros isn't a captain of smear campaigns, right?
George
Soros, a socialist billionaire money, is buying the Supreme Court in Tennessee, folks.
John, I have been the one here saying
billionaire George Soros is buying the Tennessee Supreme Court, folks, and Franklin's okay with it.
No, I'm not okay with it, John. And quit putting words in my mouth. For 2 years,
well,
I'm the person in this.
Outside money when you've got your outside money.
I'm the person who's been in this room criticizing all of the money coming into these races. I'm the one who thinks it was a terrible decision.
Were you going to mention that Soros' money was going into their campaign, or did I have to bring it up?
I don't know that Soros' money is going into their campaign.
It is absolutely going into their campaign.
I don't know how you got that information.
Well, I'll be glad to read
I don't know who's funding the money there, except that it's outside interest. I know Americans for Prosperity.
It's called Justice at Stake. It's funded by left-wing activists and billionaire George Soros, and it is involved in their retention.
Well, I'm for getting rid of all that money. Are you okay with that, John?
Well, actually, I'm not. I don't care. No, I'm okay trusting the people to sort it out and vote. Yeah. I trust the people.
All right.
Here's what I'm saying. We had this meeting here the other day that Justice Lee was here, you would be amazed at how many loyal Republicans were in this room, non-lawyers too, who think what's happening here is ridiculous and who think we ought to look at what these people actually do in their job instead of this silly nonsense.
How many people were there, Franklin?
About 100.
Okay.
And I would say, and guess what? And guess what?
You think those 100
like Bradley County, way more than half of them were Republicans in the room.
Well, Franklin, then I guess we should just let those 100 people pick for the rest of us.
What I'm saying is,
I want to let everybody pick. I want to let everybody pick.
This is a naked attempt
freedom.
to stack
this
the court.
Is freedom.
That's all it is.
You know what? It'll be stacked. It'll be stacked by 5 million voters in the state of Tennessee who will pick who they believe in.
Well, I hope we have 5 million voters in this race, but I doubt that will happen.
All right, Senator Bell. Go ahead. Last comment.
Last comment. Again, for the first time ever, we're having a true election when it comes to retaining or replacing these voters, at least as close as we can, having a retention vote. We've got both sides out there making their case. I'm with the side that says these 3 justices are partisan Democrats. We have the opportunity to replace them with conservatives. And I would urge all the listeners to vote replace on these judges.
I do want to say one thing, because it gets confusing. I tell people vote no on all these judges. Now, that means no on the retention votes. The local judges are our local judges, Mike Sharp, Judge Puckett. You know, we've got Benji Thomas up in Monroe County. That's a different judge. We're talking about these people that you actually never get to choose, except this yes-no vote. So I say vote no on all of them. You won't vote the majority of the down ballot ones out, but guess what? It's good for their ego to get a healthy no vote.
All right. Thanks for listening this week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry, and Franklin Chansey. Catch them again on Whoop FM at noon today and every Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8:30. Now, back to more music on Whoop FM.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.